And you have, these big guys, whether it's Jamie Dimon or people like Larry Fink, pushing to totally reimagine, they say, major global financial institutions like the World Bank and the IMF and all this other stuff going on. I would argue that, again, it's probably going to be a controlled demolition in the sense that they know it has to collapse at some point, and they want to be able to control that collapse for their explicit benefit. People need to be thinking about this stuff, and it's not necessarily that hard. And I think another thing people need to divest from as well is legacy social media, because to be honest, those platforms are totally controlled, and it's like a psyop fest 24/7.
Join Whitney Webb as she unveils the impending controlled demolition of our financial system. Discover how the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank marks the start of a prolonged financial crisis. Learn how powerful players like BlackRock, Jamie Dimon, and Larry Fink manipulate the Federal Reserve and reshape global institutions. Witness how fear is used to push us towards central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, and erode our freedoms. This isn't just a video, it's a call to action. Equip yourself with knowledge, stay ahead, and safeguard your future. Watch now to see beyond the illusions.
Yeah, so I do think the controlled demolition thing is essentially inevitable, because if they know the system's going to collapse, and we know it's going to collapse at some point. Well, not necessarily one moment, but I think you'll have one event and then a chain of events after it. Well, you have to keep in mind too, the 2008 financial crisis, that took several months to play out, right? So if you see Silicon Valley Bank and its collapse as the beginning of this financial crisis, even, this could be playing out over the next few months or the next couple years. It really depends on how they try and drag it out and for what purpose. And, ultimately, a lot of it might come down to things as simple as Federal Reserve policy, whether they continue to, fight inflation, quote unquote, raising interest rates, even though there's a bunch of banks on the brink and all of this stuff. After Silicon Valley Bank, people thought they weren't going to hike, and then they did hike. And you have to keep in mind, too, that there's, Catherine Austin Fitts and some other people have pointed out that BlackRock has had a lot of undue influence over what the Fed does, whether that's the going direct reset plan they made with the Fed in Jackson Hole in late 2019. Or their prediction after Silicon Valley Bank that they would hike rates when everyone else said they wouldn't. And then BlackRock turns out to be, they have a lot of influence there. And you have, these big guys, whether it's Jamie Dimon or people like Larry Fink, pushing to totally reimagine, they say, major global financial institutions like the World Bank and the IMF and all this other stuff going on. There's a lot of madness going on here, but they're obviously making plans, right? And so I would argue that, again, it's probably going to be a controlled demolition in the sense that they know it has to collapse at some point, and they want to be able to control that collapse for their explicit benefit, and for the implementation of the policy agendas that they want implemented, for their benefit, not for our benefit, right? So that's what we have to look out for. And whether or not people are successful in avoiding all of this ultimately depends on what people do right now. So again, and I've said in a lot of past interviews, what it comes down to is how enslaved we are to our own convenience and the system as it is right now. Sometimes it's very hard to change your habits, but now is the time to do that. And you can start off with things as simple as divesting from big tech. For example, if you don't want to stop having a smartphone, you can at least invest in a de-Googled phone, or one that doesn't use an operating system from a big tech overlord. Because, for example, if you have an Android phone and Google shuts down your Google account, you can't really use your Android phone anymore unless it's a de-Googled Android. It's very easy for them to take that away from you. And what would you do if you didn't have your smartphone? Some people in the United States and elsewhere would, go totally insane and wouldn't know what to do with themselves, right? So people need to be thinking about this stuff, and it's not necessarily that hard. And I think another thing people need to divest from as well is legacy social media, because to be honest, those platforms are totally controlled, and it's like a psyop fest 24/7 on places like Facebook and Twitter. You don't know what's a real account and what's not, if the person you're talking to is real or what's not, why things are allowed to go viral. There's the US military specifically has been pouring millions of dollars on how to manipulate people using social media since at least 2011. And one of their programs was to try and use social media to control people like they control drones, like basically turn people and direct them like they were robots by using social media and creating fake influencers whose message they then manipulate. It's a completely manipulated information environment. The alternative to that is to start using RSS feeds again and get an RSS reader app or something like that. You go to the websites you like and you essentially create your own news feed and take out the middleman social media completely, so you don't have a manipulated information algorithm anymore. There's a lot of ways of these different challenges that people can address right now. And of course, ultimately at the end of the day, people need to think about how you're going to keep you and your family fed, sheltered, safe during, a time when there's a complete economic collapse. So the US, 2008 was an economic crisis, but it wasn't exactly a complete economic collapse. So I live in South America. I know a lot of people from Argentina. They experienced a complete economic collapse in 2001 that was really, really crazy. And essentially what I've heard from people over there is that the best way to handle that is to be mentally prepared for things getting insane, because if you're not, you're going to make impulsive, very bad decisions, most likely based out of fear. The more prepared you are, whether it's mentally or, physically or whatever, the better off you will be, because that is really the paradigm we are facing. And I definitely think they want to make it extreme enough where people will willingly take the CBDC option or be scared enough to give away more of their freedoms for a feeling of greater security. And this is, the paradigm that's been used time and time again to take away our freedoms. And we have very few freedoms left to take, right? Yeah. And to paraphrase the Benjamin Franklin quote, those who give up their freedom for security will have or deserve neither, right? And that's essentially what will happen. This is a pre-planned crisis. The way it's going to play out has been planned, and their main tool is fear. So the more you give into that fear and follow where that fear leads you, the more you'll be, the deeper you'll be led into the system that they're creating, right? So these are things to think about when thinking about, what to do to prepare yourself. But ultimately, I have hope that enough people will do it, but I don't think everyone will do it, where you have a rift among people, people going one way and people going the other way. But unfortunately, you have to decide how much your sovereignty matters to you and if you're willing to make tough decisions to keep it, because we're really at a point where if you don't take the time to think about that stuff or make those decisions, you will lose it. They will take it from you.
As we've explored, the controlled demolition of our financial system is unfolding before our eyes. Understanding the roles of influential players and recognizing the manipulation at play is crucial. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and take the necessary steps to protect yourself and your loved ones. Remember, knowledge is power, and preparation is key. If you found this video enlightening, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights. Together, we can navigate these challenging times. Until next time, stay aware and stay prepared.